From what I read, it seems that you and Freddie Mercury have formed an immediate friendship since you met at the Royal Ballet, which later on saw you become his personal assistant, or whatever you want to call it, for the next 12 years, the last that he had to live. So what were those 12 years like for you?
They were absolutely amazing. They were work. Money went into my bank account every month. But it was basically living Freddie Mercury's life for him, with him. Taking care of the things that all of us normally have to do. Answer the telephone, answer the door, do some shopping, do some cooking.
What about your life?
What life?
I don't know. You said you were living someone else's life.
Yes, I didn't have my own.
And you did not miss it? Did you have no
Not really.
doubt about
I think
what you were doing?
Because the life I was living was so interesting. I still had friends. I would telephone friends, but there was not a lot of time to see them, because personal assistant is right, but it wasn't normal personal assistant from 9 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock in the evening, Monday to Friday. This was, as you said, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I went to bed after Freddie went to bed, and I was up before him to do normal things before he woke up.
In that case, it seems important to ask you, how many hours did he sleep per night?
Whatever time he went to bed, whether it was 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, or 5 o'clock in the morning, come home from the studio, he would always be awake at 9 o'clock.
Which didn't leave you many free time for yourself and for your sleep.
And I was young. When you're young, you don't need sleep.
To what extent was the Freddie Mercury you knew different from the one that has been worshipped by generations and generations as one of the biggest legends of all times?
I knew that Freddie Mercury. I also knew the quiet one, the shy one. I mean, he was incredibly shy. He could not, even though there's not so many of us in this room, he couldn't walk in here on his own.
He couldn't?
No. If he didn't know everybody, he couldn't do it. That's why you always read Freddie Mercury and his entourage. The entourage was just a couple of friends who would go with him and then maybe introduce him to everybody. And then he would be the life and soul of the party. He would be happy, he would talk to everybody. But he could not walk into a room and introduce himself. I knew that Freddie Mercury.
Did fame make him like that, or was he like that even before?
I think he was more shy the more fame he got, because you have to think, and you must also realize, when someone wants to meet you, who do they want to meet? The person on the screen or the person behind that image?
Well,
and he
at
had
a certain
to think
point,
about that.
It becomes impossible to differentiate the two, doesn't it?
No, he always had his own life. He let himself belong to the public as soon as he went outside of his front door. He belonged to the public.
Who was he to you?
To me, he was a man who loved laughing. He loved throwing his head back and laughing. He was the kindest, most generous, loyal friend that I'd ever had until that time. If you were lucky enough to be a friend of Freddie Mercury's, he would do anything. He would move the earth for you, if he could. Because he knew what real friends were, as opposed to the people who were just there to be seen.
What is it that you miss most about him, if you say he was your friend?
His laugh. Just him laughing. He he cared about people. Maybe he cared about his cats more, but he did care about people.
How many cats did he have?
I've counted, and to my knowledge, in his lifetime, he had 10.
And how many friends?
A few more.
A few
more.
more.
Than that.
Well, then it was harder to manage friends than cats.
Yes.
Makes sense.
But, you know, I mean, when he died, there were actually 6 in the house. So.
Is there one memory of him that stands out for you? Some moment that you used to get back to?
Again, it comes back to him enjoying himself. He would go out with friends to bars, clubs. He would come home and there would still be about 4 or 5 people. And just sitting around in the sitting room underneath the musicians' gallery part, there was couch and chairs and everything. And just sitting there with this group of people just having fun.
So if there were 4 or 5 people and you were always there, does it mean he never wanted to be alone?
He didn't like being alone.
Why?
I think maybe he didn't like his own company a lot.
Did you ever talk about it?
No, because when he was in that sort of a mood, that wasn't the sort of thing you talked about. I mean, we talked seriously quite often. But no, I mean, this was for him. There were times he would have his breakfast, he'd finish breakfast at 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. And you would know that he wanted to be on his own. And he would go into the garden. But he knew there were people within calling distance. If he needed someone, if he wanted someone. But we also knew that he just wanted to go and sit, play with his cats. He had the koi carp, the Japanese fish, and he would feed them. You put the granules in his hand, and he would put the hand down at water level, and they would come and eat out of his hand. Those were the sort of things that gave him great pleasure.